The Legend of Zelda is often seen as a story about courage, adventure, and the fight between good and evil. The series has swept us through lush forests, quiet villages, and epic battles. At its core lies the story of heroes stepping up to protect Hyrule and restore balance. Yet, if you look closer, beyond the bright landscapes and the heroic tales, there's a much darker side to this universe, easy to overlook. Nintendo has often dropped subtle hints about a darker history beneath Hyrule. The places Link visits aren't always old ruins or temples. Instead, many are remnants of events intentionally hidden, puzzle pieces from a past rarely discussed by Hyrule's people. Sometimes the hints come in the creepy design of dungeons. Other times they surface through mysterious dialogue, suggesting that something terrible once happened long before Link arrived. Some secrets lurk deep within Hyrule. Take the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time. It's said to hold the kingdom's darkest history. Step inside and you're going to find unsettling sights, chains, guillotines, shadowy figures. They hint that Hyrule's past may not be as heroic as the legends say. So what happened here long ago? Does that temple preserve memories of greed and hatred? Other mysteries revolve around the strange, terrifying creatures that appear throughout the series. Enemies like the Redeads are some of the most disturbing monsters in Zelda, and their origins are never clearly explained. Are they cursed souls or victims of dark magic? Or something even older and more sinister lurking beneath Hyrule's surface? The games leave just enough clues to make the mystery even more unsettling. Well, then there's the artifacts and the power that seems almost too dangerous to exist. Few objects in the series feel more ominous than Majora's Mask, a cursed relic said to have been used in ancient rituals before being sealed away. And when it falls into the wrong hands, the mask nearly destroys the entire world. The history of Hyrule's civilizations is full of mysteries too. Powerful cultures vanish almost without a trace. The Zonai, for example, left grand ruins but no real clues to their disappearance. Groups like the Yiga Clan show that even Hyrule's loyal defenders may have betrayed the kingdom. And when you put all of these clues together, Hyrule starts to look very different. Its history is shaped by forbidden magic, lost civilizations and ancient wars, and secrets that have stayed hidden for generations. Forgotten rituals to ancient powers that nearly destroyed Hyrule, these are the dark secrets that reveal the hidden side of the Zelda universe. Some of them unsettling, some tragic, and a few may completely change the way that you see Hyrule's history. Well, next I'm going to share my thoughts on more dark secrets in The Legend of Zelda, but before I start, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a thumbs up. It really helps more Zelda fans find this video and also Triforce times as well. And if you want to dive even deeper, consider becoming a channel member by clicking that join button down below for exclusive content and early access to new videos. Also, I'm very happy to welcome Hyrule Gamer to this video today. We're both going to be taking turns in exploring dark secrets in The Legend of Zelda. It's a huge pleasure to share this video with Hyrule Gamer. I'm sure you already know about his amazing Zelda videos, but if you don't, then you can find his channel link in the description below. Be sure to subscribe to his channel and check out his awesome Zelda work.
Hey folks, I'm Hyrule Gamer, and I'm very excited to be joining Triforce Times here today to delve into some of the Zelda series' deepest, darkest secrets with you all. Many thanks for having me on the channel today, and as always, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack and drink for the video folks, and let's get into this one.
Well, first of all, we've got the curse of Majora's Mask. Few artifacts in the entire world of The Legend of Zelda carry a reputation as disturbing as Majora's Mask. Most powerful relics in the series, like the Master Sword or the Triforce, they're connected to the gods or the balance of the world. Majora's Mask feels different. It does not represent balance, wisdom, or divine power. Instead, it represents chaos. Even the characters who understand what it is seem uneasy about its existence, treating it like an artifact and more like something that should never have been created in the first place. When the Happy Mask salesman introduces the mask, he describes it as an incredibly mysterious object, one that is said to grant wishes of whoever possesses it. At first, the description sounds quite magical, like many of the enchanted items that appear throughout the Zelda universe. But that tone quickly shifts. The salesman admits the mask is not simply mysterious, it is dangerous. In fact, he even reveals that Majora's mask is an evil mask that possesses dreadful power, something so dangerous that it cannot be shown openly. The moment he realizes he's spoken too freely about it, the salesman becomes visibly alarmed. He immediately tries to take back what he said, warning that revealing the mask's power could lead to catastrophe. This reaction suggests the mask carries a long and troubling history, one that even experienced travelers like the Happy Mask salesman treat with extreme caution. Well, that fear proves to be justified almost immediately. When the mask is stolen by Skull Kid, the true nature of the curse begins to emerge. Skull Kid is not initially a villain. In many ways, he's simply a lonely creature, a mysterious forest spirit who feels rejected and abandoned. But the moment he puts the mask on, something changes. The mask begins to amplify his emotions, his loneliness, his resentment, his desire to cause trouble. What begins as childish mischief quickly spirals into something far darker. Skull Kid becomes cruel and destructive, lashing out at the world around him. But the deeper the story goes, the clearer it becomes this transformation isn't entirely his fault. The mask is influencing him. It's feeding on his emotions and twisting them into something far more dangerous. One of the most unsettling aspects of Majora's Mask is the way it behaves almost like a living entity. Unlike ordinary magical objects which simply grant abilities to the wielder, this mask appears to have a will of its own. Skull Kid believes the mask is helping him, even referring to it as his friend. At one point he claims the mask listens to whatever he says, suggesting that it obeys him completely. But the reality is the complete opposite. The mask is manipulating him. As the curse grows stronger, the mask's influence begins spreading far beyond its wearer. The entire world of Termina starts to fall into chaos. Strange disasters unfold across the land, and the sky itself begins to change as the moon slowly descends towards the world. Over the course of 3 days, the moon draws closer and closer, threatening to crash into Termina and destroy everything. This is where the mask's true nature becomes impossible to ignore. Majora's Mask seems to actively enjoy chaos. The destruction of the world is treated almost like a game. The mask manipulates events, twists people's emotions, and pushes the world closer to disaster with every passing moment. And perhaps the most chilling moment in the story comes near the end of the game, when the mask finally abandons Skull Kid entirely. After using him to unleash chaos across Termina, the mask floats into the air on its own, and it becomes clear that Skull Kid was never truly in control. He was just a tool, a puppet used by the mask to bring about destruction. Well, the mask then reveals its true form, Majora, a strange and unpredictable entity that seems to thrive on chaos and destruction. What Majora actually is remains one of the greatest mysteries in the Zelda series. Now, according to the game's ancient legends, the mask was once used by a mysterious tribe in dark rituals, and these rituals were said to summon terrible powers, and eventually the tribe sealed the mask away out of fear of what it might do. The implication is very unsettling. Even the people who created the mask eventually realised it was too dangerous to exist. But that explanation only raises more questions. Who were these people? What kind of rituals required such a powerful and destructive artifact? And perhaps most disturbingly of all, did the mask simply channel dark magic, or did it contain something far worse? Many fans believe that Majora's Mask may contain the spirit of an ancient demon or entity that was sealed inside the artifact long ago. Others think the mask itself might have been created through forbidden magic that spiraled out of control. Now, what we do know is that Majora's Mask stands apart from almost every other relic in the Zelda universe. It's not connected to the Triforce, it's not protected by the gods, and it does not seem bound by the usual rules that govern magic in Hyrule. Instead, it stands for something much older and far more chaotic, an ancient power that probably should never have existed.
The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is easily one of the darkest Zelda games, both visually and thematically. From the creepy twilight-infected regions, void of life and light, to the chilling depths of the Arbiter's grounds, a now abandoned prison that was used for the worst criminals the land has seen. This story is a journey from the light and dark. There's one particular moment in the game where we get one of the most terrifying and deep lore drops in the series, revealing a dark secret about the Twilight. The story of the Interlopers and their forbidden magic. After returning light to the Lanayru region, Link speaks with the light spirit Lanayru and is told a tale of dark magic. In ancient times, life was at ease. The people of the land lived in peace and harmony. However, in this time, there was also a group lurking in the shadows. A tribe of sorcerers who excelled in forbidden dark magic. This tribe is known as the Interlopers. A group of Hylians who weren't like others. They possessed wicked and intense power, a kind that wasn't common. Knowing this, they made one of the boldest moves imaginable. With their dark capabilities, the tribe attempted to invade and take control of the Sacred Realm, a divine place that was left behind after the gods who created the land departed. The Sacred Realm is the home and protecting place of the Zelda series' holy relic, the Triforce, broken down into 3 sacred pieces that represent courage, power, and wisdom. If anyone were to come into control of the full Triforce, they would essentially become an untouchable god. The abilities and control over life would be unprecedented, hence why the relic was sealed within the Sacred Realm. A war broke out for this control, referred to as the Interloper War. These dark sorcerers tried to establish a domain over the Sacred Realm. Using their powerful sorcery, they came close, but it was during this conflict that the goddesses asked the light spirits of Hyrule to intervene. Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru combined their powers to seal away the dark abilities these sorcerers had mastered, encapsulating it into a relic of darkness known as the Fused Shadow, which is what Link and Midna are currently searching for in the time frame of the game. The Interloper scene itself is Lanayru's way of warning the hero of the true dangers of this dark artifact. Although it was contained in the Fused Shadow relic, that doesn't mean it isn't still powerful. It can consume individuals, cloud their vision, and entirely change them. We see this firsthand with the first 3 dungeon bosses who have all been affected by a piece of the Fused Shadow. The relic was split into 3 to protect the land from anyone possessing the full power, each piece locked away within the first 3 dungeons. It created a monstrous version of a Deku Baba in Dia Baba, morphed the Goron patriarch Darbus into a towering beast full of rage, and made Morpheal, a giant sea monster that appears to have originated from but a mere fish. The capture of the Interloper's power and creation of the Fused Shadow left the tribe weak, but that wouldn't be enough to ensure the safety of the Triforce. The Dark Interlopers would strike again if left unattended. They were then banished to the Twilight Realm via the Mirror of Twilight, a dark and lonely plane of existence that would keep them far from ever reaching Hyrule and anywhere near the Sacred Realm ever again. Over many generations of the Dark Tribe being trapped within the Twilight Realm, they adapted to the environment here, and became the Twilight race that we see later on in the game when Link enters for himself via the repaired Mirror of Twilight. This race originated from the Dark Interloper tribe. Whilst Link explores the Palace of Twilight and faces off against Zant, the Usurper King of Twilight, we actually see some of the raw strength the Fused Shadow holds, that ancient sorcery power of the Interlopers. Midna uses the relic to, quite literally, blow Zant up like a balloon, leaving Midna herself in shock at the relic's power, showing us just how dangerous the Interlopers really were, and exactly why they had to be banished from Hyrule. Shortly after this, we also see the relic's ability in full show as Link and Midna head to Hyrule Castle, currently sealed behind a magic barrier. Using the strength of the Fused Shadow, Midna is whipped around without control of her body. She transforms into this unrecognizable creature with giant limbs and a frantic nature. This is the dark powers the Interlopers possessed. She jumps onto the barrier and destroys it in an instant, which doing so takes it out of her. The Dark Interlopers and their forbidden magic is one of Hyrule's darkest secrets, knowledge that the common person doesn't know, and it's probably best left that way, as this magic almost cost the kingdom its entire way of life.
Well, next up we got the origin of the Redeads, so few creatures in The Legend of Zelda are as unsettling as the Redeads. For many players, their first encounter in Ocarina of Time is a moment they never forget. Link steps into a dark room and the music suddenly fades as a horrifying scream echoes through the room. In an instant, Link freezes in place, unable to move. Slowly, a pale corpse-like figure shuffles towards him, its face twisted into a silent, lifeless expression. Then it grabs him, draining his life as Link desperately tries to escape. It's one of the scariest moments in the series when you first meet a Redead, but what makes the Redeads even more disturbing is the games never really explain what they are. At first, Redeads look like regular zombies, undead creatures wandering around Hyrule's ruins. Even their names suggest they've come back from the dead. But if you notice where they show up and how they act, things take a darker turn. Redeads aren't just scattered everywhere in Hyrule, they usually appear in places connected to Hyrule's darkest secrets. In Ocarina of Time, Redeads appear in several locations. One of the earliest encounters happens at the bottom of the well beneath Kakariko Village. This is already one of the creepiest places in the entire game, filled with torture devices, blood-stained walls and shadowy enemies that suggest something terrible once happened there. The well itself is closely connected to the Sheikah, the secretive tribe that served the royal family and protected the kingdom's darkest secrets. If the bottom of the well was once used as a prison, an interrogation chamber, or an execution ground, then the presence of the Redeads becomes much more disturbing. Instead of being random monsters, they could be the remains of a people who died there, victims of Hyrule's hidden past. This connection becomes stronger in the Shadow Temple, another location where the Redeads appear. The Shadow Temple is described as a place where Hyrule's history of greed and hatred is preserved. Its halls are filled with guillotines, cages, chains, and execution devices. Everything about the temple suggests that it was used to punish or eliminate the enemies of the kingdom. In other words, the Shadow Temple might be Hyrule's hidden place of death. The Redeads wandering its corridors might not just be monsters, they could be spirits or even the bodies of those who died there. Instead of passing on peacefully, maybe they've been twisted by dark magic, cursed to remain trapped between life and death. But the most chilling appearance of the Redeads comes later in Ocarina of Time, after Ganondorf conquers Hyrule, when we first meet adult Link. Link steps out of the Temple of Time when he first becomes an adult into Castle Town. The once lively city has become a silent ruin. The market is now empty, the buildings are abandoned, and Redeads wander the streets where the people once lived. These creatures might not simply be monsters, they might actually be the citizens of Castletown, transformed into undead husks after Ganondorf's rise to power. This possibility becomes darker when you consider Ganondorf's connection to magic. In Ocarina of Time, the world becomes filled with Stalfos, Poe's spirits and other supernatural enemies after he takes control of Hyrule. Redeads could easily be another result of that corruption, ordinary people twisted into undead servants by the overwhelming presence of dark magic. Another disturbing detail is the Redeads' most recognisable ability, and that is their terrifying scream. When a Redead notices Link, it lets out a chilling shriek that instantly paralyses him with fear. Link cannot move, attack, or defend himself. He simply stands frozen as the Redead approaches. The scream seems to affect Link's mind as well as his body. It may represent the overwhelming terror or supernatural aura surrounding the creature, a psychic attack that freezes its victims in place. In other words, Redeads might not just be undead bodies. They might be restless spirits bound to decaying corpses, creatures that exist somewhere between the physical and the spiritual world. Well, this version of the Redead suggests another idea. They might have been created or controlled by forbidden magic. Magic in the Zelda universe has always had the ability to transform people into monsters. We see this happen in many different ways throughout the series. Skull Kid is transformed by Majora's Mask, Hylians are turned into spirits or monsters through curses, even Ganondorf himself becomes the beast-like Ganon through dark magic. If that kind of transformation is possible, then Redeads may not simply be undead creatures, they could be people who were cursed, transformed, or corrupted by powerful magic, trapped in horrific half-life. Unlike many monsters in the series, Redeads still look disturbingly human. Their faces are pale and hollow, their bodies are stiff and unnatural, and their movements are slow and lifeless. They resemble corpses forced to stand and move again, and they may be what remains of people after something terrible happened to them. And that possibility becomes darker when you consider how often Zelda lore hints at forgotten tragedies. Wars have been fought, civilizations have fallen, and powerful magic has reshaped entire worlds. Throughout these events, countless lives would have been lost, and not all of these souls may have been allowed to rest.
In the peaceful Kakariko village seen in Ocarina of Time hides a dark secret. At the summit of the settlement graveyard, we can find the entrance to one of Hyrule's deepest, darkest secrets. A place stained in blood, echoing with haunting screams, and somewhere that the royal family of Hyrule do not speak about. This is the Shadow Temple, the 7th dungeon in the game that Link must conquer. The Shadow Temple is a chilling location. This place was previously used as a torture chamber during the Hyrulean Civil War that took place not long before the beginning of the game. Not much is known about this conflict, other than that it lasted for a long time and had many fierce battles that took a significant amount of lives. As the people of Hyrule were battling it out, the alliance of the royal family and the Sheikah tribe triumphed through the war, and part of that was thanks to this dark secret they shared. During this time of war, the Sheikah tribe would take enemies of the royal family to the Shadow Temple to be interrogated, tortured, and worse. Both as punishment for opposing the royal family, or as a method to get answers from them, likely information regarding battle strategies and plans. If we take a look around, you can see the sorts of devices that were used during the war. Large, sharp blades, spiked traps, and even guillotines. There's blood staining the walls and floors, showing just how brutal the Sheikah were to their enemies, slaughtering them in the most horrific ways, hidden in the shadows of this temple, masking the truth behind their typically elegant presentation. What happened here was barbaric. The echoing sounds of lost souls travel these halls. Skulls can be found lying around, the remains of those who met a dark fate within. It's not known how many lives were taken here, but the bloodstains and remains speak for themselves. As previously mentioned, this is a part of Hyrule's history that the royal family don't speak about. It's considered taboo due to the dark stain it's left on their history. Despite being used during the war, the devices found here are truly inhumane. In the time that Link ventures within the temple, he can find awful creatures of shadow lurking inside. Undead Gibdo, creepy crawling floor masters and wall masters, Stalfos warriors, and of course the childhood nightmare fuel mini-boss, Dead Hand. A large foul beast that controls multiple arms while screaming and trying to attack its prey. The boss of this former torture chamber also holds a bit of a dark theory behind him. Bongo Bongo is the final challenge Link must face at the end of this nightmare, an enemy made up of two massive arms and a body with no head, but rather a singular eye. Formerly trapped at the bottom of the well, but managed to escape with Ganondorf's rise to power. Bongo Bongo resembles a sort of mutilated and dismembered body, considered to be an evil spirit, but it's possible he embodies the souls of those tortured and slaughtered here during the war, either in a literal sense or as a reference. His haunting design fits the theme and history of the dungeon, either way. The dark truth of the Shadow Temple is one that often remains in the shadows, buried in history, lurking up the back end of Kakariko Village, an otherwise quiet and peaceful settlement at the foot of Death Mountain, with most residents not even knowing the true horrors right on their doorstep.
Well, next up, we've got the disappearance of the Zonai. Few mysteries in modern Zelda lore are as fascinating as the disappearance of the Zonai. Long before the events of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the Zonai were an incredibly powerful civilization whose influence shaped Hyrule's early history. Their ruins are scattered all across the land, their symbols appear on ancient relics, and their technology still powers devices thousands of years later. Yet despite all of this evidence of their power, the Zonai themselves are almost completely gone. The first real hints of the Zonai appeared in Breath of the Wild. Players exploring the dense jungles of Faron discovered enormous stone ruins hidden deep within the landscape. These structures looked unlike anything else in Hyrule. Towering statues stood silently in the jungle, covered with strange carvings that seemed to depict animals such as dragons, boars, and owls. These symbols are widely believed to represent the three virtues of the Triforce: power, courage, wisdom, suggesting that the Zonai may have had a deep connection to the spiritual foundations of Hyrule itself. But even as players discovered more of these ruins, one detail stood out immediately. Almost nobody in Hyrule seemed to know who built them. The Zonai are mentioned only briefly in the game's lore, described as a mysterious tribe that once possessed great power before suddenly disappearing. The description even refers to them as barbaric, which is strange considering the incredible sophistication of their architecture and their technology. The massive labyrinths scattered across Hyrule are believed to have been built by the Zonai, and they remain some of the most complex structures in the entire kingdom. So when Tears of the Kingdom finally arrived, it expanded the mystery. The Zonai were revealed to be far more than an ancient tribe living in the jungle. They were actually a powerful race that descended from the heavens, possessing advanced magical abilities and technology far beyond anything the people of Hyrule understood. Their civilization once existed among the floating sky islands, high above the world's surface. Two Zonai characters became central to the story of Hyrule's founding: Rauru and Mineru. These two individuals appear to be among the last surviving members of their race. Rauru eventually becomes the first king of Hyrule, forming an alliance with a Hylian woman named Sonia to establish the kingdom that would define Hyrule's future. But even in these ancient memories, there is a disturbing implication. The Zonai were already disappearing long before the Kingdom of Hyrule was founded. Rauru himself suggests his people had mostly vanished, leaving only a few survivors behind. So what happened to the Zonai? Well, considering their incredible abilities, their disappearance is difficult to explain. The Zonai possess powerful magic, advanced technology, and the ability to create machines that could operate for thousands of years. Their constructs still patrol ancient ruins, their energy powers devices scattered across Hyrule, and the Sky Islands themselves remain suspended in the air long after their creators vanished. For such a powerful civilization to disappear almost completely suggests that something catastrophic must have occurred. Some theories suggest that the Zonai may have slowly faded away after sharing their knowledge with the people of Hyrule. Perhaps their civilization declined naturally over time, leaving only Rauru and Mineru as their final remnants of their once great race. Another possibility is that the Zonai deliberately withdrew from the surface of the world, returning to the heavens after establishing the kingdom below. But there are definitely other darker possibilities as well. The ancient memories in Tears of the Kingdom reveal the Zonai existed during Ganondorf's rise. Rauru ultimately sacrifices himself to seal Ganondorf away beneath Hyrule Castle, and if the Zonai were already in decline before this event, the conflict with Ganondorf may have pushed their civilization even closer to extinction. Some fans have also speculated that the Zonai's disappearance could be tied to their own power. Their technology, capable of manipulating energy, creating constructs and lifting entire islands into the sky, may have been too advanced for their own world to sustain. It's entirely possible their civilization collapsed under the weight of their own creations. What makes this mystery especially eerie is how completely the Zonai vanished. Their ruins remain everywhere, but their people do not. Entire cities once floated in the sky, yet only fragments remain. Their machines still function, silently continuing their ancient tasks long after their creators are gone. It almost feels like the Zonai vanished overnight, leaving everything behind. Well, today, the only traces of their existence are the ruins scattered across Hyrule, the floating islands drifting above the clouds, and their ancient technology still humming with the energy beneath the surface of the land.
The Sheikah tribe in Breath of the Wild are viewed as a highly advanced group, and this view was held even back in the ancient past, approximately 10,000 years before the events of the game. Seen as a civilization filled with great power and wisdom that had been used to aid the Kingdom of Hyrule on several occasions. In these ancient times, however, the kingdom saw a catastrophic event known as the Great Calamity, the first instance of this great evil. After the first calamity had occurred, the royal family of Hyrule's view on the Sheikah shifted. No longer were they viewed as friends of the kingdom, but now a threat. This insecurity was specifically aimed at the Sheikah's advanced technology, mechanical machines and weapons designed to help aid in the defense of the kingdom, but it was misinterpreted by those around them. As a result, the Sheikah and their technology were cruelly exiled from Hyrule. Many of those banished from the kingdom chose to abandon their skills and leave the technology behind, living more common lives to avoid any problems. However, there were some Sheikah who were filled with rage and hatred, angered by the exile order of the king, which festered into a malicious view towards the kingdom of Hyrule. As a result, these former Sheikah swore allegiance towards Calamity Ganon, betraying their own people who chose to live in peace. These traitors were not going to settle for peace and quiet. It's this divide within the Sheikah tribe that would create the notorious Yiga Clan, a group made up of ex-Sheikah who turned their back and took their exile into the shadows. Approximately 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, signs of Calamity Ganon's resurrection grew. A sense of evil filled the halls of Hyrule Castle, and doubt was cast over the kingdom. The King of Hyrule ordered that the ancient Sheikah technology that was once cast away was to be recovered, in preparation for the Calamity returning, knowing that if Hyrule stood any chance of survival, they'd need the Sheikah's advanced aid. During this time frame, certain individuals began to creep out from the shadows of the land. Those who swore allegiance to Calamity Ganon long ago were still around, just waiting for signs of their leader's return, and this was their moment. It's during this time frame that they would officially form as the Yiga Clan. Their sole mission in life was to eliminate anyone who opposes Ganon, with one target in particular being the hero who wields the Blade of Evil's Bane, the main threat to their leader. These traitors of 100 years before the events of the game had carried that same hatred and anger of their ancestors 10,000 years ago. Their betrayal of the Sheikah survived this long, just patiently waiting for their moment to rise, and as the second coming of the Great Calamity drew near, so did the Yiga. They primarily hid within their base, out in the mountains that border the Gerudo Desert, a secluded and well-hidden hideout where they'd meet to plan ambushes, robberies, and so on. The Gerudo in particular had troubles with the Yiga Clan, as they often crossed paths through the desert, resulting in confrontation and violence. We see an example of this in one of Zelda's memories. As Princess Zelda and Link were travelling through the desert, they came under a Yiga ambush. It seemed as though the clan were going to get a massive victory in eliminating the daughter of the king. But in the nick of time, Link rushed in and battled multiple Yiga foot soldiers on his own, saving the princess and wearing off the soldiers. Sometime before Link's awakening in the modern day that the game is set in, the Yiga Clan's current leader Master Koga set out spies to discover where the hero could be found, and we learned that one of these spies was actually found within Kakariko village. Dorian of Kakariko is one of these spies. He fell in love with a Sheikah woman and had 2 daughters. Despite wanting to leave the Yiga life behind him, that wasn't exactly a choice. He wanted out in order to live a peaceful life with his family. However, this didn't work out well. After an attempt to leave, the angered Yiga brutally murdered Dorian's wife, a cruel message to show him that there is no way out, showing us how brutal this clan of traitors really is. This forced Dorian into a double life, one side of him being a lovable family man and great father to his daughters, the other being a Yiga spy feeding the clan information during the night. During Link's adventure, he can also encounter other Yiga spies all across Hyrule. When talking to the many NPCs found across the kingdom, Link can find himself under sudden ambush, as these seemingly regular Hylians strike up conversation, but their choice of words are often odd, usually asking direct questions involving Ganon, the hero, or bananas, to then swiftly reveal their Yiga colours, shouting for Master Koga and attacking the hero. The story behind the Yiga Clan and their betrayal of the Sheikah is a really dark piece of Zelda lore and history, with their hatred, anger, and malice holding out over 10,000 years.
Well, once again, thank you to Hyrule Gamer for providing insight into some of Zelda's darkest secrets. Please do go and show him some love over on his channel. Well, throughout the history of The Legend of Zelda, Hyrule has always felt something bright and heroic on the surface. It's a story about courage, adventure, and triumph over good and evil. But when you start looking deeper into the lore, a very different picture begins to emerge. Beneath the legendary battles and the heroic journeys lies a history filled with curses, forgotten civilizations, ancient wars, and mysteries that Nintendo never fully explains. From the creepy origins of the Redeads to the strange power of Majora's Mask and the old magic of the Interlopers, these stories show a darker side of Hyrule that people rarely mention. The Zonai ruins also remind us that whole civilizations can become powerful and then disappear without a trace. The more you look into Zelda's history, the more you see Hyrule is built on layers of forgotten stories and dark secrets. And that is part of what makes this series so fascinating. The Zelda universe still leaves us with questions. These mysteries continue to fuel theories and discussions among us Zelda fans, and they are part of what keeps Zelda's lore so rich and so compelling. But I would love to know what you think. Which of these dark secrets do you find the most mysterious or the most unsettling? Share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your theories. Well, that is it for this video today, and thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for even more Zelda content here on Triforce Times. Thanks again. I'll see you real soon. But I just want to say a huge thank you to all of the channel members out there. Thank you so much for supporting Triforce Times. It really means a lot, and I couldn't do this without you. I do want to say a special thank you to my Tier 3 members. That includes Romulus879 and ElfQuest01. And if you want to get your name in the credits or get some exclusive videos and early access to videos, plus join the community Discord, you can sign up for a YouTube membership today and choose the right tier for you. Well, thank you once again to all of the channel members, and I'll see you very soon. Well, for a long time now, Triforce Times has been a place for Zelda discussion. We've got theories, we've got Zelda news, and also deeper conversations about why these Zelda games matter and what makes these games so special decades after release. So if you've been watching Triforce Times for a while, you've probably noticed the scope of the videos. It's grown, and that growth is something I really want to continue in a sustainable way. So that is why I'm introducing Triforce Times channel memberships. And this is not about locking away content or changing what the channel already is. The main videos are always going to be here. They're going to be free and accessible to everybody. But memberships are simply a way for you, the viewer, who want to support the channel a little bit more, to do so while getting something meaningful in return. I've thought about channel memberships for a while, but I really do think I've got something valuable and meaning for you to say thank you for being a Triforce Times audience member. Okay, so what are Triforce Times channel memberships? First of all, they are completely optional. So think of them as a way to support Triforce Times directly. It's similar to Patreon, but built into YouTube itself. So if you choose to become a channel member, you're going to get access to extra features and exclusive content, whilst also helping fund the kind of long-form, research-driven Zelda videos that I love to create. Nothing changes if you don't sign up. Watching, liking, commenting, sharing all the videos, that still helps Triforce Times massively, and that support is always appreciated. Triforce Times memberships, they're going to be built around community, depth and appreciation. The goal is not to overwhelm you with tiers or pressure you into signing up or anything like that. Instead, each tier is designed to reflect a different level of involvement, from simply showing support to actively shaping the future of Triforce Times together. So whether you want a badge next to your name, early access to videos, or a bigger role in what the channel creates next, there is a tier that is right for you. Well, first of all, we've got Tier 1, and that is becoming part of the community. So this is the entry point into Triforce Times memberships. It's all about belonging. This tier gives you loyalty badges next to your name in comments and live chats, and also you're going to get access to the Triforce Times Discord, and this is where a lot of the best Zelda conversations happen. It's a place to talk theories, share memories, and discuss the series with people who care about it as much as you. Tier 1 is simply a way to show support and be part of the inner circle. Next up, we've got Tier 2, and this is the core Triforce Times experience. This is where memberships really open up, and this tier includes everything from Tier 1, but you've also got early access to new videos, your name in the credits, and also access to members-only videos. So these members-only videos are where Triforce Times goes a little bit deeper. They're more focused, more experimental, sometimes even more niche. This is where I explore ideas that don't always fit onto the main channel format. So we've got deep dives into specific Zelda mechanics to broader discussions about the series' legacy. So one of the biggest benefits of becoming a Tier 2 or Tier 3 member is instant access to the existing back catalogue of members-only videos. They're full, standalone videos that expand on the kind of topics that Triforce Times is built upon. When you join, you're unlocking a growing library of exclusive Zelda discussions that you can watch immediately, and more are going to be added over time. We've got a library already, but I'm going to be adding at least one new exclusive video per month. But to be honest, I'm probably going to be adding more than that. Well, next up we've got Tier 3, so this is supporting the future of Triforce Times. So this is for viewers and fans who want to go a step further and actively support the future of the channel. This tier includes everything from the previous levels alongside members-only polls that allow you to vote on upcoming topics and video ideas. You're going to get discounted merchandise, members-only shoutouts, and access to exclusive artwork specifically created for Triforce Times members. This tier is all about recognition, involvement, and helping push the channel forward into more ambitious projects. Well, next up, let's have a look at why memberships matter. So channel memberships help make Triforce Time sustainable. They allow me to spend more time researching, writing, producing videos that go beyond the surface level of analysis. They also make it possible to experiment more, take more creative risks, and explore ideas that might not perform well in the algorithm, but ultimately matter to you, dedicated Zelda fans. Your support directly contributes to better, more thoughtful content. Well, finally, I just wanted to thank you, the Triforce Times community. Now, whether you decide to become a member or not, I want to thank you for being part of Triforce Times. This channel exists because of people who love The Legend of Zelda and enjoy talking about it in a deeper way. Memberships are just one way to be part of that journey. So if you're interested, you can check out the membership that is right for you and hit that join button down below. But as always, thank you so much for watching, supporting, and most importantly, thank you for being part of the Triforce Times community.